Thank you very much, head writer, women's expert, Nicole Beckley.
Call me Denzel.
All right, well, now what we've all been waiting for, Senator Kirk Watson is going to join us here. Great. Well, I don't think you need any introduction to our 10 viewers, but if you want to go ahead and say who you are and how long you've been serving, that might be helpful.
That's probably the only part of this that I'll be able to answer that question. Yeah, my name is Kirk Watson. I'm state senator for District 14, which is most of Travis County and all of Bastrop County. I was first elected to the legislature in 2006, and before that I served as Austin mayor back in the late 90s and early 2000s.
Thank you. So we focus a lot on what happens during a legislative session, but right now we're currently in an interim.
Right.
So what happens in an interim? What are you doing, and what should we as Texans and citizens be focused on?
Well, during the interim, once the session ends, and of course this last year, in odd-numbered years we have the sessions, and this last year we had that silly special, very special session. Special session. And
well, about the bathroom bill, so we could get our message out.
Yes, yeah, that was right.
Good job, Nicole.
Very well done. But the bathroom bill was a big reason that we had the special session to begin with. But once that was over, then we're in the so-called interim, leading up until January of 2019, when we'll come back in a regular session. So it's an even-numbered year, so I can do math. It's really that was the skill I demonstrated that got me on the Senate Finance Committee. But so in even-numbered years, of course, we have elections. So one of the things that happens is you have a slowdown for a period of time, and not much happened at the building until after the March 6th primaries. And of course, we're in a runoff period, so it'll be May 22nd before some of those are decided. But right after March 6th, you saw a lot of activity at the Capitol, because both the Speaker of the House and the Lieutenant Governor, who is the presiding officer of the Senate, they will charge the committees, the various committees of the legislature, with things that they're supposed to study during the interim. Those charges get generated by us, by members of the legislature, and they do it on their own in some cases, but they've asked us for what we want to look at. So, for example, I guess it was about 2 weeks ago, every day of the week, I guess, we had something going. Sunset Commission met on Monday, Finance Committee met on Tuesday, Health and Human Services, which takes up everything related to Medicaid, or Child Protective Services, to women's health issues. That met on Thursday and Friday, as did higher education that week. So we're in that process. What we'll do is we'll study these items. We will then prepare reports that are supposed to influence the regular session of the legislature that will start in January. My personal view is we don't spend enough time. We act like we're spending a lot of time, but really the study that ought to go into these big, heavy issues on behalf of the people of Texas don't get the study they deserve during the interim.
Is there anything we can do to get more studies? And you're a member of the minority party. I don't want to bring that up.
Yeah, and I don't even get wastewater.
Janet, she'll get you some right after the show.
They got bed and breakfast for shunned Republicans, and the Democrats don't even get that. So.
No, well, I think someone's opening a campsite.
That's a good
maybe
idea.
some pots.
But so one of the things that's very important is people need to be paying attention during the interim, because these hearings, while I don't think we put enough work into them, the hearings matter. It is the one opportunity during that interim, before we get into the heat of a legislative session, for people to come down and have their voices heard. So, for example, on things like Child Protective Service, we had a lot of good testimony, but that's the chance to get down there and talk about it. In finance right now, we're looking at a number of issues that will inform what we do in the next budget. Things like property taxes, very important, and particularly in Austin, Texas, because if we don't do something about the school finance system, we're not going to fix property taxes. And that's the state doing it to the locals. And so people need to take the time to be down there and be a part of that. And of course, they need to be paying attention to the elections.
Great. What do you wish that we had an intern study for that we didn't study this year?
Well, so far, we haven't studied something that I passed a Senate concurrent resolution. One of my big things during the legislative session was making sure we had more transparency in government. The Public Information Act is so that the public can know what is going on in its government. And the fact of the matter is that the Texas Supreme Court, in a couple of decisions, has really just blown gaping holes into the ability for people to know what's going on in their government. So I filed legislation that would have reversed that. And I passed it out of the Senate multiple times in different ways, only for it to die in the House. So at the very end of the session, I passed a Senate concurrent resolution unanimously, and it passed, the same resolution passed the House on a vote of 147 to 0, and it called for an interim study on our Public Information Act and other governmental transparency issues. And as of today, there has still been no committee appointed by either body. And that bugs me. So I really believe that that's one of the issues that we just have to study. And we need to get a running start on it, because if we don't, I worry that there won't be enough time during the regular session to pass the legislation we need to.
Thanks for that. We have a little bit more time. I wanted to bring out two of your colleagues. I don't know if we have some fellow senators here. If y'all would like to come on up.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know each other, but
Of course, yes. Very nice.
will you introduce yourself to the audience?
Yes, I'm Victoria Baker, and I represent Brazoria County.
Okay, thank you.
Unlike Senator Watson, I can't do math. So I believe I come from District 734.
Thank you. Great, of our 150 districts here. Great.
I am Brian McClendon. I represent Levelland, Texas.
Bryant.
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 I feel like we've done this.
Yeah, me too.
Bryant.
Bryant. Great. Well, Victoria and Brian, thank you very much, Senator Good. Thanks for
good
being
having
here.
you.
You spoke briefly about voting.
Yeah.
How important is it to vote?
Well, elections matter, and if you're not involved in the voting, you know, we've had elections here in Travis County. Donna Howard won in one of her elections. She's a great member of the Texas House from Travis County. In one of her elections, she only won by 4 votes. So, you know, they say it's trite, but it's true. Every vote counts.
Thank you. Victoria, how do you feel? And that was 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 votes.
Well, in our county, we like to vote at the local library for our Blue Bonnet coloring contest for our little girls who are 4 and under. And of course, usually there's a tie between poor little Kathy and Sylvia. But of course, we let both win. That's how we like to vote there.
Wow, everyone wins in Brazoria County. Thank you, Victoria. And Brian.
Well, I'm just going to tell you a story here, folks. Now, there was a contest that Donna Howard is in, and we almost won it, and we lost it by 4 votes. Now, I know you've never heard that before. It's crazy. But all I'm saying is that, you know, we need to show up. Certain people need to show up. Do you hear me, Levelland?
Thank you, Brian. We've seen a lot in the news lately about students who are getting very politically active, people who can't quite vote yet, but they seem to be organizing marches and walkouts. Are the children the future? What's going on? You can step up to the desk a little
Okay,
more.
sorry.
We're cool. Oh, wow.
You know, in the Senate, you're not supposed to touch the.
Oh, that's right.
When you filibuster, you can't touch the desk. Staying away from that. I think we're at a real turning point in our history. I think the issue of how we address responsible gun ownership and make sure that we keep our kids safe in schools, and the way these young people are addressing it is really creating a different path in our history. And so it's wonderful to watch.
Excuse me. Victoria, excuse me.
Oh, what did you say? I can't hear you over my cross stitch.
Oh, of course. It's
I tend to cross stitch when there's a lot of gobbledygook going on that I really don't want to hear. When there's other issues out there.
Sure.
I mean, of course, we should all be concerned about this Blue Bonnet issue going on right now. everybody running around, smashing and crashing, all over these beautiful bluebonnets that just want to be out there being wild. Everybody trying to domesticate them. Oh, this is horrible. I can't deal. I can't deal with it. Sorry.
That's why we need interim studies. I didn't know that.
Bluebonnet safety.
I didn't know that.
I,
We need a charge on that immediately.
okay, I'll write that down and get that right to the governor. Brian.
I'm just gonna say that if I walk into your house and you don't have a 9mm sitting on your living room table, I'm just gonna assume you want to be murdered.
You said it and you meant it. I think you really did. Well, we have about 20 seconds here. So, in one word, what does representation in Texas mean to you?
Kirk Watson for Texas Senate. I know that wasn't one word. I can count that, but it wasn't.
749, District 749.
District 749. Lots of people on the ballot there. Brian.
Whatever I'm told.
Well, this is Over the Ledge. Thank you very much for joining us.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you to Senator Kirk Watson.